I use a router for a lot of things, but ever since I got this cordless one, it's become the one that I use the most. And one of the first things that I did after I got it was to make a very simple circle cutting jig that works with it. And in this video, I'll be showing you how I made it. Now, there's not a whole lot to it. I'm starting with a scrap of 3/4 inch thick hardwood. This happens to be oak. I gotta cut the end square and clean, but I'm gonna leave the piece long for now. These next cuts that I'm gonna make are safer if the piece is bigger. And the first one is to cut it down to the correct width. And then for the next one, I'm gonna take down my mini table saw sled because I need to make a series of cuts that will leave a thin tongue sticking out, and that's where the pivot point will be. And you'll see the reason why I need to do this later in the build. And with that done, I can cut it to length and round over the end of the tongue. Next, I need to take the base off so that I can modify that. What I need is to cut out an area on this where that tongue will slide in and get closer to the bit without going all the way through. That'll make it so that it can cut really small circles. All I have left to do with this pivot block is to drill the hole for the pivot pin. I'm going to use a 1/8 inch drill bit for that, and I'm also going to cut the end off to use as the pivot pin itself. Now I need to measure where the threaded rod screws into the base on the router, and then I can transfer that to the pivot block and drill the hole. That first hole was a little bit too tight, and I want this to move back and forth freely, so I'm drilling it out a little bit bigger with a slightly larger bit. And basically that's all there is to it. All I need to do now is put it on the router itself. I've got a piece of threaded rod that's about 12 inches long, although any length will do, short or long. I've also got a single hex nut, although a wing nut would work here as well, and 2 wing nuts plus washers that are kind of optional. Here you can see how that extension on the pivot block slides into that cutout on the base to get the pin very close to the router bit. And to use it, all you need to do is drill a pilot hole that matches your pivot pin. If you make the extension longer on the pivot block, you can make even smaller circles than this. And then to make bigger circles, all you need to do is move the pivot block out. And where it's on a threaded rod like this, you can get very precise adjustments to really dial it in to the exact size that you need. Like I said before, you can use a longer threaded rod, but another way to get a little bit more out of it is to flip the pivot block around so that the extension sticks out the end.